So this past week, I was really blessed to have some vacation time. And as one priest said it on my vacation, I was just one step below heaven. And of course, I'm speaking of Iowa. So I got to go to Des Moines, Iowa, the highest destination vacation place on the planet. Just kidding. I went down there. I got to visit some dear friends that I've known for almost a decade, a little bit more than a decade. And there was a healing service, a Catholic healing service on Wednesday. And it was supposed to be at St. Ambrose Cathedral down in Des Moines. And Des Moines has had almost no snow this winter, and barely any snow. And if you had to guess a certain day of the week that a lot of snow was scheduled to go, you'd be right, and that it was going to be on Wednesday. And it was going to be like so much snow that they might cancel the healing service, which I went down to Des Moines for. We changed our plans so I could go to that healing service. And so my priest friend and I, the one that I had traveled with, we got down on our knees on Tuesday and we asked God to not have it snow so that it wouldn't cancel, okay? And God said yes to that prayer, and it did not snow. And they canceled the healing service anyway. Yeah. In anticipation and the fear and the planning and all of this stuff. But a very wonderful Catholic couple opened up their home so that they could host a smaller healing service for those who had traveled some distance. So rather than this big cathedral healing service, I got to be in the living room of a family, and it was really powerful. And it started at like 5:45 and it went to like 8:30 or whatever. And this family that I had been staying with, they have 5 kids, and their oldest kid was just yearning, just absolutely yearning for snow. And she prayed that it would snow. And I said, there were 2 priests and only one of you, so God, we won, okay? We won. And so it didn't snow. And I'm at this healing service, and it was really powerful. And after the healing service, I got to talk with 2 of the people who helped with the healing service. They shared their gifts at the healing service. Wonderful Catholic young women. And one of them, I asked her about just like how you got connected to this, and she shared her experience of God. It was really powerful. And then kind of in a disarming way, I was wearing priest clothes and stuff, and she knew I was a priest. And she just asked me, how did you become a priest? And I wasn't ready for the question. And anytime someone asks me that, it's always very humbling, because I did the exact opposite of what you heard in the gospel today. So in the gospel today, Jesus comes, he's walking by the Sea of Galilee, and he sees these 2 sets of brothers, Peter and Andrew, James and John. He sees them and he calls them. I'm going to come back to that point later. And at once it says, they dropped their nets. They dropped what they were doing. They left what they had, and they followed Jesus. And it's always so humbling for me. Somebody asks me how I became a priest, because I did the exact opposite of how they responded to Jesus. So as I was telling this young woman how I became a priest, this is the analogy I used. So God was calling me, and I was going the exact opposite direction. And then so he called me again, and then I went more in the exact opposite direction. And then he called me again, And I went more in the exact opposite direction pretty vigorously. And then I ran right into a brick wall and went, wah, okay? I just went right into a brick wall and collapsed to the ground. And God said, there you are. There you are. Let me help you up. What if we went in the other direction together? And I said yes to that. And what I experienced was a greater healing, freedom, joy, power, love. And honestly, as I journeyed through seminary and now as I'm in my 6th year as a priest, it's just like, what was I so afraid of? Why didn't I want to follow God's call for my life? You see, Jesus wants you and me to respond to his call like those 2 sets of brothers did. He wants you and me to at once drop what we're doing and follow him. Why? Because he's so good. He knows what he has in store for you. He knows the blessings he wants to shower upon you and give you. He knows what you'll miss out on if you don't say yes. He doesn't want you to drop everything and follow him because he's like an ogre or something. When he calls you, it says that he sees and he calls. This is so striking. God does not go into a room, look up in the ceiling or something and say, hey, does anybody in this room want to follow me? He sees. And then he calls. Well, what does he see? When he sees you and me, what does he see? He sees it all. He sees all of your and my weaknesses, all your and my strengths. He sees all of our idiosyncrasies, all of our foibles, all of our faults. He sees your gifts and your talents. He sees all of your past and your history. He sees the places that you are most ashamed of, and he sees the places that you are most proud of. He even sees the sins that you have not told anyone, and yet you still carry as a heavy weight in your life. And he sees what you can become if you follow him. He sees everything. He sees that you're imperfect. And he calls you anyway. See, you and I, one of the stumbling blocks that you and I can have to following Jesus in our lives is we think that we have to be perfect in order to do that. We think we have to be perfect in order to be called to be a priest. We think we have to be perfect in order to be a great spouse or something like this. If God only called perfect people, he would have only called one person, Mary. But what's so powerful about Jesus is that he doesn't just call perfect people, he calls imperfect people. He says, I can work with you, I can work through you, even if you're imperfect. Actually, especially if you're imperfect. And I call ordinary people too. Fishermen, tax collector, salespeople, stay-at-home moms, working moms, farmers, every single job is not beyond my call. You see, sometimes you and I, as we think about our lives, we're like, okay, that disqualifies. That that thing that I did, that disqualifies me. This place that I'm in at right now, that disqualifies me. My job, that disqualifies me. My past, like, Lord, don't you know who you're calling? Sometimes you and I can even think, what disqualifies me is that I don't follow Jesus right away. But I just want to encourage you, I just want to give you hope that even if when Jesus came and called you to follow him, you did what I did and not what the apostles did, and you went in the exact opposite direction many times, and even ran into a brick wall and hit the lowest part of your life, even if that's where you find yourself right now, God can meet you there. That's actually where he wants to meet you, right where you are. And he can look at you and he can pick you up and say, there you are. What if we went in the other direction together? I didn't introduce him at the very beginning, but I also just want to welcome formally Father Emmanuel from the CFRs. They're a Franciscan religious order, mainly stationed in New York, but they're all over the world. And there's here at least two different ways that you can become a priest. One is to serve in a parish like I do, and one is to be a religious priest and maybe travel all over the country. He's here to do a retreat for Net Ministries. We're so grateful to have you. You're always welcome here. But even if you don't become a priest, each of you are called to follow Jesus. Jesus sees you and he calls you. And if you follow him, he will take you on an adventure that blesses you, heals you, sets you free. So this young girl, the oldest of the 5 kids of my friends, she was lamenting that she didn't get snow and that we prayed that it wouldn't snow. And she was like, no. So I said to her, like, okay, how much snow do you want? Like, do you want like 2 feet? And she's like, no, I just want enough snow that it would cover the lawn. And so I said, okay, I will pray for that. So I'm at this healing prayer service, and I just experienced a lot of spiritual and emotional healing, even some physical healing. And afterwards, I was praying and just had a lot of healing tears. And I'm in the living room, and I look out, and guess what's happening? It's snowing. And how much do you think it snowed in Des Moines, Iowa that day? Enough to cover the lawn, basically. You see, God sees you and me. He hears our prayers. He doesn't give up on us, even when we turn our back on him. He has a plan for you, and if you say yes to that plan, oh, I can't even tell you what he has in store for you.